As everybody talks about what's going on in California, made me laugh because a lot of people are talking about DEI this and DEI that. Here's the thing about DEI. Everybody wants to be inclusive and opening. Let's have it all. Let's be great. Except when it comes to them and when it comes to stuff that's super important. When you're on an airplane, do you want the most diverse or do you want the best pilot when things are going sideways? When you're going in for brain surgery, do you ask, hey, did the brain surgeon tell you their pronouns? And are they them? No. You want the best. That's what you want. When it comes to lives, we need the best. It's that simple. This is not a joke. When it comes to lives, over the last 24 hours, have been in touch with several friends, a couple of them who are just devastated because one of them lost their home for sure. And they're blessed. So they said, look, it sucks. We didn't die. We're all good. And that's great. One of them thinks they lost their home, and the other one completely unsure. Has no idea. Know that many of the houses in his neighborhood, like on his street, gone. But this brings something to light that, just like with immigration and what took place with Greg Abbott sending to the blue cities all of these people that are here illegally, who are abusing the asylum, changed a lot. And you need that. When it comes to, it's like anything, right? Like climate change. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Because the funny thing about climate change is you hear people talk about climate change. Oh, climate this, climate that, climate this, climate that. Then when push comes to shove and you say, okay, are you willing to do this, this, and this? Poll after poll says, no. You want that, but you don't want to be a part of it. Climate change, oh, it's great to have diversity, all of those things, as long as it doesn't affect me, right? Like I don't want it to affect me. I want the best. When it comes to me, I want the best. When you see all these liberals out there who push for, hey, strong schools and unions and this, that, and the other, all that sounds great, but your kids go to private school. Why? Because that's where the best is. That's why you send them there. That's what this is so much about, this insanity. And sometimes you need a kick in the britches to get something moving. I said yesterday, and I've said it for years on my other show, for the most part, you're not going to believe, no matter how much data and facts are put in front of you, you're not going to believe something that in your mind that you already have said, I form my opinion, and my opinion is this, and that is juxtaposing my opinion, and I'm not going to believe it. Sorry. But the minute it affects your life, the minute it becomes a situation where you now are feeling it, well, everything changes. And it changes fast. And I think that's what we're going to see in parts of California. This insanity that is going on. I mean, we're talking about, my mom's like 30 miles from there. And she's like, oh, yeah, it's just, we woke up this morning, it was ash all over our cars. I was like, wow, it's crazy. But it's not just it's the focus on all of the things that don't matter at the end of the day. The fact that you're gay doesn't matter. The fact that you're black doesn't matter. It matters to people who make a living off those things by pushing stuff. But when push comes to shove, you want the best. If your kid's going in for super, super big surgery, are you hoping it's a very diverse cast of characters, that everybody's represented, even if they're not really good and capable of performing whatever it is? No. Right? When the plane's in trouble, Do you want a group of people that are checking off boxes, or do you want Sully Sullivan, the white guy? Give me the person that lands the plane. And I don't care if that person is trans. If that's the best person, I want that person. If that's the best person out there, that's the person I want. And we need more of that. And it's not about making sure that only white people get hired or only men get hired or only, what. It's not about that. It's about meritocracy. And it's not about not giving people chances. It's absolutely about giving people chances. But there are some things that you don't take chances with. Lives being one of them. And we're seeing that. The checking the box it's so crazy when I hear that. Well, they check the box. No. Unless the box is the best at their business, the best at this, absolutely incredible, never misses, shows up every day, is going to hit it out of the park. Unless it's that, because that's the only box you should care about. Not the, you are a group that has been, marginalized, so you should step to the front of the line. That doesn't help. And you get stuff like this. You get stuff like this where you are seeing when the focus isn't where it's supposed to be because people in power are being swayed to do things that go against the reality of the world. I can guarantee you Karen Bass, I can guarantee you Gruesome Newsom, if push came to shove, they want the best coming to their home, not the most diverse. Because that's who they are. They want everybody else to live in a different world because it makes them feel good that they did something. But they're not really interested in for themselves. And that's something I hope people take away from this that aren't people like you and I who get that. And, I did a video last night, talked a bit about this. And the thing that made me, some people push back. And I said, you're not getting it. Again, this has nothing. You make it about skin color. You make it about sexuality. You make it about whatever it is that you feel that you need to marginalize somebody to make them feel better. You make it about that. That's not what it's about. It's about who's the best at this position. If it happens to be all white guys, then it is. If it's all black women, then it is. If it's all gay men, then it is. If that's what it is, I just want the best. That's it. Absolutely. And we need more of that. And if this is teaching us something, it's once again the failure of blue cities and blue states that do things strictly on feelings and not facts, who deal in things that make people feel better, where they can signal and pat each other on the back, throw something up on Instagram, and get activists cheering them on. But it's not about getting results. California, LA, $837 million is what the budget is for the fire department. I think that's after they pulled about $17 million out. The budget for the homeless is $1.3 billion. And by the way, the homeless in 2023 started 14,000 fires. So you're paying people to start fires? Failure. And it takes an act for some people to realize, this isn't good. No, it's reached me now. Now that it's reached me, I don't want any part of it. See, I don't know, things like immigration. Because that's one thing right there where it changed so many people's minds. Once it started landing on their doorsteps, and they looked around, and all of a sudden, they had to pay the price. They had to pay the money. They had to tell other people that they had marginalized themselves to use them to continue to get votes, that they were no longer top of the food chain because somebody else had come here who was more marginalized and they deserved more. And then all of a sudden, you start to get that kind of mass that starts to move and go, oh, no. No, no, no. Hope all is well with you. Happy. And I do mean happy Thursday. So we got snow coming in tomorrow. I'm pretty excited. I just saw Chris. Chris is going to be working for the house tomorrow. Belle, you're going to be in here with me tomorrow. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay, so Belle will be here.
I'm not a sissy. I show up to work even when it's difficult to get here.
How long does it take for you to get here?
If there's no traffic, about 12 minutes. If there's a lot of traffic, maybe 30.
Okay. Are you planning on leaving a little bit earlier tomorrow just in case people are idiots?
Yeah, it might be a good idea, but I'm not a huge fan of good ideas. No. I like to just wing it.
That's a good thing. What time do we know, Ken? Do we have any idea what time the first landing of stuff is? I'm very excited about this.
The first snowflakes should start falling in West Middle Tennessee around 3 a.m.
Okay.
It will then spread to Nashville. Expect that to be in between 5 and 9. Now, it's going to start at 5, then it's going to continue throughout the day statewide.
Woo! How long we really think we're going to get it?
They're saying into Saturday morning. Now, that could mean right after midnight.
Yeah, that could be. But still, I mean, I'm kind of excited. We're still looking at, like 4, 5, 6, how many inches, man?
4 to 6 inches possible.
Oh, it's going to be awesome.
Now, the new twist today is that some of the models, they say, are showing there could be a mix of sleet and snow for possibly Nashville, maybe Murfreesboro, definitely southern Middle Tennessee. But that could extend as far north as Nashville. They're just having to keep an eye on it.
All right.
And that's when it gets really dicey.
Yeah, that's that right there is the sleet. And I walk, by the way. I'm walking to work tomorrow. I said so. I told my wife, I said, I'm walking to work.
That's the way to go, Brother Chad.
I'm in. I said, you guys, I told her, so you're like, yeah, I might wear my shorts tomorrow. You don't know.
You're not impressing me until you take an Uber to work.
No. Take it.
What is that, 2 minutes?
I think it takes me 7 minutes to get here.
Oh, that's not
on
bad
foot.
At all.
On foot. So probably 2 minutes with an Uber.
Yeah, 2 minutes for the Uber. So I will not do that. I'm not. I don't care how bad it's snowing. I will make the effort. I will make the effort to walk here tomorrow. I'm pumped about it. So much stuff to get to. We got some fun stuff. It's not all just about, the fires and stuff like that. But we are going to talk a little bit more about that. Plus, CES is going on. And it wouldn't be CES without some stuff there that is hilarious. And panic buying, we're going to talk about that. Bunch of other things to get to. If you're missing the show, make sure you grab our podcast right after the show is done. And definitely text the line. We love hearing from all of you. Belle will answer it. I'll answer it. We got everything going on today. This is going to be a great Thursday because it is literally the calm before the storm. It is the Chad Benson Show. Super Talk 99.7. So 2025 is here. Great time to reevaluate where you're going in your retirement. I want you to talk to my buddies over at Bulwark. Zach is awesome, friend of mine. Just a guy that's an awesome guy, and the way that he does stuff is so much different. I see my family there, I see everybody there. It's about risk management, number one strategy with Bulwark. They lower risk, lower cost, lower volatility. And on top of that, they look, because they're active managers, of things that, are underperforming that they know are going to perform well. So making you money is a big part of it. And they want to know where you want to go with your retirement. They're giving you a second opinion for free. You call 866-779-RISK. You chat with them and ask them, hey, this is what I want to do. Maybe you want to sit on an island and drink out of a coconut. Maybe you want to take that hobby you love and turn it into a business. How am I going to get there? And can I get there doing what I'm doing? And they may say, yeah, you absolutely can. Or they may say, no, this is what we suggest. Then they send you on your way. Doesn't hurt to get a second opinion. Call them today, 866-779-RISK, or go to knowyourriskradio.com, KNOW, yourriskradio.com. Investment advisory services offered through Trek Financial, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Investments involve risk and are not a guarantee. Past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Trek 24378.
Drivers, we've picked up a brand new crash with injury. It's going to be 8th Avenue near Kirkwood Avenue. We will give you the very latest on the approaching winter storm and whether or not you'll be able to fly in or out of Nashville. And it's the end of an era in Tennessee sports broadcasting. That story coming up at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Jimmy and I often talked about our dear friend Walter Mondale, whom we all miss very much. Together, they formed a model partnership of collaboration and trust, because both were men of character.
So they're still burying this guy. Did you guys know that? We're on day, I think, this is the last day. He doesn't stick around anymore. He's on his way now to Georgia after today. But it was interesting if you saw any of it. So Trump sits down next to Obama, and they're just laughing. And I'm thinking to myself, what is Trump asking Obama? What is he telling him? Like, what is he saying to him? Because look, one thing, you don't have to like Obama. You don't have to like Biden. There is a handful of people that are alive that have been presidents of the United States. It is a very select group of people. So there are some things they share. They're probably thinking, man, how long till this guy goes? It's not very nice, Chad. No, it isn't. I'm kidding, people. I'm kidding. But so Jimmy Carter, today's it. Good luck. Godspeed. If that's what you say. I think that's what you say when you send people to the moon, right? You say, Godspeed. But I've got more people who've chimed in over the last couple of days because I said I don't understand the pomp and circumstance. And it's bizarre because so many people, well, what about the Brits? Well, we're not the Brits. We beat the Brits. We beat them. And I get that it's look, if you're young and you're assassinated or something like that, it's a different story. It is. But there were people waiting to walk by the casket, which, again, I find absolutely bizarre. But it happened. It did. Yesterday, so many people being displaced with all that was going on in L.A. And it is so sad to see what is going on. And one of the things that's interesting is the amount of people that we're finding out now have no fire insurance. So what took place was farmers said, for us to make this even kind of worth it, we're going to have to raise rates. So the insurance company commission in California is like a beast. And they told them, no, you can't raise rate. You cannot. They said, well, we have to. Or it's fiscally, it's impossible. They said no. So they dropped 1,600 people. And for the most part, those were people who own their homes outright. So if you own your home outright, you don't have to have insurance. It's kind of like, you have to have car insurance for the other. If you own your car, you don't need, all of the stuff. You just need to make sure if you hit somebody else, their car's covered. It's the same thing. And so many of these people didn't have insurance. And I'm sure you guys have heard Adam Carolla play a little bit later. Wait till, like, if you're a movie star, you're probably going to be okay. You are. But if you are a person, and for the most part, most of these people, these are generational homes. They have been owned by a couple that bought it 50 years ago for, a nickel and a couple strawberries. And this is all they have left. They've paid it off. And they raise their kids. They see their grandkids running around in there. They didn't have it because they're somewhat on a fixed income. And that's gone. And it's gone because of poor planning. It's gone because of poor execution. It's gone because more important was the color of the skin, the person you love. It's gone because we wanted to protect a fish that may or may not still be there. We're not quite sure. It's gone because everybody wanted to virtue signal, and now you have to pay the price for it. If you're a 34-year-old actor and you're kind of you're kind of doing okay, it sucks. You probably got enough insurance. You'll be fine. You'll build something new or you'll move somewhere else. But so many of those people are not that. And they're going to find out what it's like to deal with bureaucracy like never before. And California is nothing but bureaucracy. Hence the reason why everything is so expensive. Don't get that way. Don't get that way, Tennessee. I'll tell you that right now. Coming up, people panic buy, which is interesting. And it is very interesting why we do it. Because we have a freeze tomorrow. Texas is having a freeze. And there was panic buying going on there. And last night, I got to talk to a doctor from Baylor about the psychology of panic buying. Why do people do it? It's interesting. It's not hard to see in today's world, but it's what we panic buy that is the very, very odd thing. We'll talk about that. A bunch of other things to get to as well, including Hot Pot, as I like to call it, from CES. It is the Chad Benson Show. Super Talk 99.7.
.30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. The first snowflakes are going to start falling in Middle Tennessee around 3 o'clock this morning, or rather tomorrow morning, and then start falling here in Nashville right about 5. And then it's going to spread statewide from there. All told, we could get up to 6 inches. Full forecast in 5 minutes. Now, the airport says it's prepared.
The airport is open 24/7. We'll have one or more than one of our 4 runways open at all times so the airplanes can come and go. It's really a business decision on the airlines. Where do they want that airplane to be on the ground if the storm gets bad? Because then it's hard to pick up and recover afterwards.
That's BNA CEO Doug Crulin telling WTN's Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis. They're going to start treating roads and ramps at midnight. And you need to get to the airport at least 2 hours ahead of your flight, but be checking with your airline to make sure it's still going to arrive and depart. It's the end of an era in Tennessee sports broadcasting. Touchdown, Titans radio play-by-play announcer since 1999, Mike Keith, will replace Bob Kessling, who served as the voice of the Vols for 25 years. So now Keith will call Vols football and men's basketball games. The Tennessee hemp industry legally able to sell THC products until February 18th while a judge reviews their lawsuit to block a rule that growers and sellers say will put them out of business. Meanwhile, WTN's Nashville's Morning News had State Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson on this morning. He talked about medicinal purposes.
And yes, we have no problem. If there's a clear evidence when someone is suffering and there is a medicinal use and they can benefit from the use of these products, we will absolutely look at that and make that legal for them.
Right now in California, Santa Ana winds have died down, giving firefighters a chance to contain the 5 wildfires racing across parts of Los Angeles County, blamed for at least 5 deaths now. And a final farewell to our nation's 39th president. Phyllis Adams performing Amazing Grace at former President Jimmy Carter's state funeral at the National Cathedral in Washington. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Man, that sounds so cool. Autumn wind.
You're a very easy man to please.
I am. I'm easy to work with, too. I tell everybody that.
That is true.
You know what? I've been in this business long enough, and I've had some tragedy in my life. And I've learned a long time ago, getting angry ain't worth it. You know, this is radio. Nobody's dying. You know, it's like you didn't push the wrong button and boom. Oh, my gosh, somebody exploded.
My bad. I hit the detonate button instead.
Hey, people are still chiming in about their best and worst concert. What was your best concert?
That one is very, very difficult to answer because just having worked in music radio for as long as I did and then doing record promotion, I would say I've probably seen 2,000 to 2,500 shows.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. And so it's very difficult to pick the best. The worst one I ever saw, I went to see Bob Dylan just because I wanted to say, yeah, I saw Dylan.
He's awful.
He was terrible. Just absolutely horrid to the point where you'd be halfway through a song and he would jack the arrangements up so bad that you'd be halfway through the song before you even realized what you were listening to. And I'm talking about hits.
Yeah.
All along the Watchtower, all these things. And just like, oh, that's what he's playing.
He is.
And the only positive that came out of that one show was I got to see G.E. Smith play live.
Okay. So, again, I've seen a lot of concerts. I don't like going to concerts. There's too many people there. But it is, I'm always amazed at, like, who's really good and who's really bad,
Especially in a live setting, because you could make anything sound good in the studio.
And that's the thing, too. Like, and that's always been the true test of music, right? Like, who sounds like, you go and I get as some people age, their voices change, right? Like
that's natural.
Yeah, that's a natural thing. But there's some people, it's like you never sounded that good live, ever.
Vince Neil.
Yes.
Vince Neil's a perfect example. Love Motley Crue. Love Vince. Vince is a great frontman, but he's just not a very good singer.
No, he's not a good singer. He's not. Like Freddie Mercury may have been the greatest showman in music.
He's definitely in the top 5.
Yeah, and what is it? Was it Rolling Stone said Live Aid? That was the 17 greatest minutes in rock and roll history when they did the Live Aid thing, or Band Aid or whatever it was. It's incredible.
No, it was Live Aid.
Yeah, it was Live Aid.
Yeah,
Band Aid was the actual single. But there's some people that are just, you go and you're like, oh my God, you're awful. You're just, and this is when they were in their, it was great, Billy Idol. So Billy Idol, I was surprised how good he was. And this was when he was young and in his heyday. But I've seen some bad concerts, I'll tell you that right now. So tomorrow we got lots of snow. We got, oh my God, this could be it. Everybody's going to be, this is it, right? Like this is snowpocalypse. We may not survive. So what happens? What's the things that people do in situations? They panic buy. Why? There's a lot of reasons. But there's a psychology to it. And last night I got to talk to a doctor from Baylor, and some of the stuff he told me was really interesting. Again, this guy's a doctor, and his thing is he looks at the psychology of how consumers spend their money and why they do the things they do.
I think it's a common response to the anxiety that's related to bad weather. So I don't think it's anything that we can consider to be illogical or not logical, but I think we have to be a little bit more measured in our response. But it's a common social, psychological response to perceived threat, right? Bad weather is a threat. We could run out of food. We could be stuck in our homes. And so, no, I don't think it's uncommon to be afraid of bad weather and maybe the possible food shortages that are associated with it. But I think it's also common that oftentimes we overestimate the threat, and that kind of leads to panic buying.
And that is really interesting that we overestimate the threat. No, wait, that's what we do. We overthink things. And one of the things we do, and it's funny because, so my other show, my producer's in Atlanta. And he texted me this morning something about French toast. And I'm like, that's funny because that's what this guy says that people do. It's like, it's about comfort food, and it's French toast.
Yeah, I love it. Again, it's called the French toast syndrome. Again, I'm not much of a cook, but that means that when we do have these types of panic buying, often people go and turn to the staples of bread, eggs, and milk. So they call it the French toast syndrome. I think that's a great way to put a funny spin on this whole idea of panic buying.
And, you know, because I've been through a lot of crappy weather, having traveled all over. I've been to all kinds of crappy weather. And sometimes it's about, you know, how the place deals with the weather, right? Like, let's be real. Like 4 inches in Ohio isn't going to make a difference. 4 inches here, well, we're not really set up for it. Texas, they're not set up for it. They're getting their snowmageddon starting tonight. But for other places, it's fine. But there's been a run on stuff. Why? You know, somebody goes, I got to go to Costco. Why? So you go buy a bunch of crap, and then you come home, you got 12 gallons of mayonnaise, right? You got 16 chapsticks.
Your pantry is nothing but bread.
Right, yeah. You know, it's like, because you seem to think that this is, this may be it. Like and I'm fascinated by that because just like when COVID hit, what did everybody do? They ran out and bought toilet paper. Like, there was never going to be toilet paper again? You remember how many people bought toilet paper? And it was, we don't have toilet paper. You're just like, are you kidding me? Wait, why are you buying toilet paper? Well, because of COVID. COVID's a respiratory illness. You're not going to be, vomiting and all this. No. We panic and we look for comfort.
But I think the most important thing is to remember that everyone else is going through the same kind of problem that you are, and for you to run in and go, fill up on, take all the milk or all the eggs and things like that just leaves other people without. And I think our heightened panic buying, or our panic buying, has been heightened by the recent COVID, right? We all remember about the toilet paper shortages.
Oh, yes. Do you ever say to yourself, and you're in this situation, you start looking around going, all right, if something was to go down and we needed to eat, who am I going to kill and eat? Who's the one going down? Who's the guy I'm going to get? Like, I'm fine. I'm going to be okay, right? But is it my neighbor, right? Like, is it Jim? Jim, is that you out there? You start looking around like, I might have to. Because there is it's go back in your subconscious. It's a primeval kind of thing. It's stuff that has happened throughout our history. There's just something back there that tells us we've got to hunt and gather and protect.
Why do we react with panic buying when we're threatened? Again, shopping is a way to reduce anxiety. We actually call it in research, we call it something called mortality, our own, life and death, existential, but mortality salience. The idea when we're threatened, we find comfort in things that we can buy. Like in war times and times really, could be COVID, certainly, a lot of compulsive shopping because those, amassing things make us feel better. It kind of helps us to reduce, maybe even help us distract us from the anxiety we're feeling about, COVID or about the impending storm.
But there are people out there that, they still are terrified of COVID. There are people out there that have panic buyed because they think that everything's going to be closed. And it's just a fascinating way to look at stuff. And psychology is the greatest sales book in the world. If you want a sales book, don't go get a sales book. Go get a psychology book. Find out what makes somebody tick. And that's how you win. So what's your panic buy? If you were to panic buy, you had to have one thing. Like, what could you survive on for a week or two? Because that's the way you have to look at it. Like, for me, I'm like, just go get a bunch of Top Ramen. You can eat it raw if you have to. It's cheap. It'll never, Twinkies, right? They're never going to go away. Those things will last forever. But the psychology of why we panic buy is crazy. It absolutely is. Last night I went home and I was telling the guys, I said, I had to go home. And I did work for a station of mine out in Texas because they're having lots of issues. Their people couldn't get there. And the thing I've noticed, the difference between the way that California's handled things. So you see Gavin Newsom out there. It's about having a picture. It's about, being able to make sure that you're in front of the right cameras and you're blaming everybody else for the issues that are going on as your city burns. And then juxtapose that against Texas. So 2021, they got smashed and the power grid fell apart. It did. It was horrible. Not only did it fall apart, this week the Supreme Court of Texas held up a lawsuit and said it was fine. Yes, you can go through with it, where they're suing all the power companies for the deaths the loss of not just lives, but livelihoods and all of these things, businesses. And so that's going to go on. But the power grid was still a mess. So what did they do? They threw money into the power grid.
The current cold snap is a bitter reminder of the deep freeze of 2021 when millions of homes and businesses across Texas lost electricity. Governor Greg Abbott says that because of infrastructure hardening since then.
If there is a loss of power, it's not going to be because of the power grid. It's because of some impact on a local power line.
Like a downed utility pole or a tree falling into wires. Utility providers say there's more than enough generating capacity to meet this week's added demand.
Which is what you do. California knew there was going to be wildfire. They didn't do anything about it. By the way, there's going to be. Don't call me a soothsayer. I'm not Chad Stradamus. I will tell you this right now. There will be an earthquake at some point in time. Those things will happen. But when you spend your money doing other things and you don't look forward to go, how can we learn from our mistakes? You get this. For the last 3 days, Greg Abbott and everybody has been out there talking about, look at all the stuff we're going to do. Look at all the stuff we got over here. These things are protected. We've made sure that all the roads are going to be this way. They're doing what leaders do, and they learn from their mistake because their mistake was a giant mistake. It was a massive mistake. There are many people I talked to out there whose homes were destroyed because the pipes burst because they just weren't ready for it. But they went and handled their business. Now they're like, look, locally you might have an issue here, a power thing. I can guarantee you nothing, unless the voters push for this in a place like California or New York when it comes to immigration or some of these, unless they push for it, nothing will change. Nothing will change. Because it's all about them and never about what everybody else has to live under. So it's funny when you juxtapose the difference between red states and blue cities and red cities and how they handle their business. And there's no doubt that one has got it going on and the other one, well, the other one's on fire. Some fun stuff to get to. CES, if you don't know what that is, Consumer Electronics. Very interesting what's going out there. I showed Belle and we were like, oh my God.
You know, it's like you go through life and every now and then you'll see something. It's like, okay, that's a little crazy. Ooh, that over there is a little nuts. Wow. How did that? And you look at CES and it's like, okay, these people are all insane. All insane. And you know what? It wouldn't be CES without this, because once the nerds figure out what they need to do, the first thing they head to is something like this. We'll talk about that. And maybe Belle and I, if we put together a great idea for this too, a little bit. Yeah, we'll talk about that on the air. Well, it was your idea, but I was able to throw in some enhancements.
It's going to be fun, kids. It is the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Raycon, best earbuds around. Love my Raycon. They are incredible. They're called the Everyday Earbuds from Raycon. So you get them and they come in this really cool package and you take them out and they've got this great little thing. You charge them in. It looks like almost like a mini egg and you put them on and away you go. They're seamless in the way these earbuds connect to your phone. And by the way, the new ones, they're multi-connectivity. So you can have your wire, let's say, oh yeah, I'm with my computer and my phone. I don't have to worry about not hearing anything. Multi-connectivity. They've got active noise cancellation. When you got kids screaming and yelling, boom. That's what you'll hear. And they've got so many other features. 8 hours of talk time, 32 hours of battery life. And then you get to the sound quality. Second to none. The fit, which is so important. Second to none. And you're going to get a 30-day happiness guarantee. If you're not happy with them, send them back. Boom. Give your money back. No questions asked. I'm going to save you 15% right now. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. Start 2025 off the right way. Getting out there, moving and grooving. Listen to podcasts. Listen to us. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad to save 15%. Buyraycon.com/Chad.
Well, we picked up a brand new crash. This one's going to be 24 westbound in Antioch. The second right lane is blocked right there at Haywood Lane. We've got the latest on the approaching winter storm, what it's going to mean for flights in and out of Nashville, also the end of an era in Tennessee sports broadcasting, and the Los Angeles city mayor taking heat for some of the decisions made before the threat of the Santa Ana winds, causing those wildfires to race across parts of the city and county. We'll tell you about it. Let you hear from her at 1 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yeah, God, some of her stuff. It was confusion. It was somebody else's fault. It was oh, God.
This was the first time this has ever happened. We had no historical evidence to expect this.
I'm just, you ever wonder, like, who didn't get the job? Like, how bad were they?
Yeah. Or was merit even considered?
I don't. You know what? In a place like L.A. and surrounding areas, California, you can fool people.
Yeah.
And that's what you do. You promise the vast majority of people that are struggling that you're going to be their hero, and then you don't deliver. Because the rich blue will vote for you because they're isolated. Right? You know, this is not supposed to happen in Pacific Palisades. And, you know, Malibu's had fires off and on for years. But, you know, one of the things that's not being talked about is a lot of these really upper middle class rich people, they will hire private firefighting companies and people to come help them fight fires, which is insane. Like, that's a job. For some, there was a guy that got criticized because he's like, I'm offering X amount of money. Come help me save my house. But that's not uncommon in a place like that. But again, they're not used to being touched. They're not. They live above it. And that's what happens in a lot of these things. It's like I was telling about socialism. Socialism and communism was invented by people not to live in it, but to live above it. And that's what LA and a lot of these big blue cities is. These people promise the people that they're going to be the heroes in their story. And then they never deliver.
These rich movie stars are going to pay all your bills for you.
Yeah, yeah. And they know they're not. It's like with tax cuts. You know, do the rich need tax cuts? No. Hell,
But if you're going to do tax cuts, you got to cut taxes where they're actually being paid.
Yeah, but the thing is you can raise their taxes as high as you want. They're not going to pay it because they're smart.
Yeah, they have lawyers and financial advisors that get them out of a lot of that stuff.
You know, it's just so interesting to watch, and whether it's New York and the insanity of immigration, or California and the insanity of woke ideology that's just crazy. This is what you get. You get this lunacy, and you get a failure, and if you decide to vote again for people that are willing to risk your lives and risk your homes, your property, everything you work for the sake of, you know, a smelt, which is a fish, some sort of virtue signaling when it comes to native water or, you know, electric vehicles or any of that. If you're willing to do that and then it goes to hell, you're the only one to blame. You are. And the reason that this has gotten so much attention, partly because it's in the middle of one of the biggest cities in the world, but because of the homes that it's hitting. And that's because of the stars. The stars are the ones that people are, oh my gosh, Ben Affleck and so. I feel bad about all those other people. And by the way, you think the stars have a lot of money? They may live in a nice house, but you're surprised how many of them live kind of paycheck to paycheck. Coming up, little fun next hour. Talk a little bit of climate change. I'm going to take you guys back a ways in climate change. Talk about that. A bunch of other stuff to get to, including, is coffee good for you, kids? Is it good for you? We'll talk about that. It's Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.
1 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and we're tracking the winter storm. The first snowflakes expected to fall right at the start of rush hour tomorrow morning, and then after that spread statewide. By the time it's over, a little bit after midnight Friday, we could have up to 6 inches on the ground here in Middle Tennessee. Some of that could mix with sleet. We're keeping an eye on that for you. Full forecast in 5 minutes. CEO Doug Krulin says BNA is prepared for arriving and departing flights.
We're 100% supplied. All of our equipment is ready to go. And for us, we'll start at midnight tonight with pre-treating all the roads, ramps, and runways out here, waiting for the snow to start.
He tells WTN's Nashville's Morning News, check with your airline and get at the airport at least 2 hours early. The end of an era in Tennessee sports broadcasting.
Touchdown!
Titans broadcaster Mike Keith leaving the team to become the next voice of the Vols. He'll be the lead play-by-play announcer for Tennessee football and basketball games. He'll also be involved in various new programming initiatives that UT says will be released later this year. The hemp industry in Tennessee can sell products that provide a marijuana type high legally until February 18th. That's when a judge decides a lawsuit growers and sellers filed to block a State Department of Agriculture rule they say will put them out of business because of the way the level of THC will be regulated. Meanwhile, state lawmakers seem poised to look at making marijuana legal for medicinal purposes. This is State Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson this morning on WTN's Nashville's Morning News.
And yes, we have no problem. If there's a clear evidence when someone is suffering and there is a medicinal use and they can benefit from the use of these products, we will absolutely look at that and make that legal for them.
The Santa Ana winds have died down, and firefighters now have a chance to contain the Los Angeles wildfires, now blamed for 5 deaths. But the heat is on Mayor Karen Bass for cutting nearly $18 million from the city's fire department budget just months ahead of the threat.
There were no reductions that were made that would have impacted the situation that we were dealing with over the last couple of days.
She's also under fire for deciding to visit Africa for the inauguration of Ghana's president during the Santa Ana wind threat. And in our nation's capital.
This is a special report from ABC News celebrating Jimmy Carter. I'm Michelle Franzen. World leaders, including 5 living American presidents and first ladies, gathered at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. to honor and bid farewell to the nation's 39th president. Longtime friend President Biden delivered the eulogy.
President Biden said the definition of a good life is making every minute count, and that's the life his dear friend Jimmy Carter lived.
He showed us what it means to be a practitioner of good works and a good and faithful servant of God and of the people.
The president said Carter never let the tides of politics divert him from his mission to serve and shape the world.
Jimmy Carter's friendship taught me, and through his life taught me, the strength of character.
Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
Carter's casket now making the final journey to Plains, Georgia. He'll be buried next to his wife, Rosalind.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
All right, guys, let's talk about what's going on out there, right? Snow this week. Most people, what are you focusing on? Stocking up with groceries. You're talking about panic buying. Oh, my God, salt in their driveways, all that kind of stuff. What about your house, right? Foundations, cracks, water. If it remains unseen, it can turn into a bigger problem. Mold, don't want that. Rotting wood, no, thank you. I want you to call USS, United Structural Systems. Over 30 years, over 30,000 happy customers. That's amazing. The USS inspections are absolutely free. Not going to sell you anything unnecessary. Simply there to help. And they guarantee our best, which I love about that. You call them today, 615-488-7855, or check them out online at USSTN.com. When you allow things to go longer than you should have, it's like when you're driving in a car and you hear something, you know you need to check it, you turn the radio up, that thing's still there. Same thing with your house. Check out your foundations. You want to water? Oh, my God, what's going on? Don't let that happen to you. Call United Structural Systems today, 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855. California's on fire. It's horrible. It is. But it's going to happen again, too. Remember, this is not even the time of year that they have wildfires. But this is an eye-opener. And I know people are like, I can't believe people are playing politics with it all. Ugh. Here is Gavin Gruesome Newsom. I know other people call him New Scum. We call him Gruesome Newsom.
I hate to even ask this question, but the president-elect chose to...
Why do you ask it then?
Attack you, blame you for this.
One can't even respond to it. You know, people are literally fleeing, lost their lives. Families completely torn asunder. Churches burned down. This guy wanted to politicize it. I have a lot of thoughts, and I know what I want to say. I won't. I stood next to a president of the United States of America today, and I was proud to be with Joe Biden.
Oh, wow. Well, were you proud? That's great. You're proud to be with Joe Biden. Fantastic. How does that help somebody who just lost everything?
And I love how he washes his hands of any responsibility just so he can insult Trump.
Well, that's what it's all about, right? Like, it's all about insulting Trump. I mean, it's somebody texted earlier and said, at some point in time, they're probably going to blame him for this. So you have him, who is a decent amount of responsibility lands on his shoulders, and then a decent amount lands on the mayor, right? Karen Bass, who is awful. She's absolutely awful. So she flew over to Ghana, and then it was like, like Ted Cruz, you better get back here. And Ghana's not one of those places like, I'll just go on over to the airport and get on over to LAX. It's not like that. So she got back, and when she got off the airplane and they were hammering her with questions, it was hilarious. But today, more thought out. And people are asking questions. What about cutbacks?
There were no reductions that were made that would have impacted the situation that we were dealing with over the last couple of days.
No, none whatsoever? Really?
Money was allocated to be distributed later on, which was actually going to support salaries and other parts of the fire department that were distributed a little later.
It's everybody else's fault. Here's the thing about great leaders. They recognize the issues, and then they fix them. They don't put blame on other people if it lands at their feet. Now, some things and I'll say, not everything was going to be saved. This was not about saving everything, because it just wasn't going to happen. Once the Santa Anas kick in, you're at the mercy of nature. And nature will nature when nature wants to. That's just it. When you've got stuff that's moving anywhere between 60 and 100 miles an hour, it only takes a small ember to take off, catch a piece of wind, and away it goes. And then all of a sudden, you're fighting a fire somewhere else. But they didn't have the tools to do that. They didn't have the tools to mitigate the damage. They didn't have the people to mitigate the damage. They're flying in people from all over the country. and you're still blaming other people. You can't do that. Well, you know what it is, though, really. It's climate change. Climate change. And I like, we shouldn't politicize stuff. CNN immediately went to climate change.
Joining us now is climate scientist Michael E. Mann. He is the director of the Penn Center for Science, Sustainability, and the Media at the University of Pennsylvania. He's also the author of Our Fragile Moment, How Lessons from Earth's Past Can Help Us Survive the Climate Crisis. And Michael, how does climate change contribute to this perfect firestorm?
Santa Ana winds, that immediate factor, and the underlying dry conditions that are definitely related to a trend of drier conditions in California and the western U.S. caused by human-caused warming due primarily to the burning of fossil fuels.
Okay, so it's fossil fuels, climate change. Now, remember, this guy does what for a living? Sustainable. He's a professor. He makes money on climate change. That's how he makes money. Climate change is an industry. It used to be global warming. The problem with global warming is it had to go in a certain way. Otherwise, it didn't count. So it's got to go up, or otherwise it doesn't. Well, my God, if it goes down, what happened? So as I'm sitting here listening to this guy, remember, I like everything else, this is your business. You want your business to succeed. If somebody came and said, hey, I'll give you $1 million, come over here, we don't think it's real, and here's a contract for $1 million, you'd find a way to go, hey, global warming, I bought into it. It's not real because it's a business.
So, this has become a bit of a political issue. I wonder if you can explain or kind of fact check for us, because we're hearing from President-elect Trump, who is blaming Governor Gavin Newsom and saying that this is about water policy to protect threatened species. And really that is the culprit for what we're seeing. Is that part to blame here?
So we got to get in Trump, right? It's Trump's fault.
No, it's really unfortunate to see, the president-elect engaging in what can only be characterized as disinformation and politically motivated disinformation. We know what's going on here. This is part of a larger trend.
Part of a larger trend. It's a business. This is when business hits big. Man, you're excited. You get to go out and talk. You're sad about the houses, but now you've got something that you can talk about, which is great because you're pushing the business forward. You're an activist. Activism is business. And it doesn't mean we shouldn't take care of the planet. We didn't take care of the planet for a very long time. What's the old saying? Crap or eat. We did. We didn't treat it right. We need to treat it better. And we haven't at times.
Hotter, drier conditions due to the warming of the planet. That's the reason that we have seen the most destructive, fastest spreading, the most deadly wildfires in California history. The fact that we're seeing wildfires like this in the middle of winter during what is supposed to be the dry season is testament to the fact that there's a new ingredient. There's a new meteorological ingredient here, and that's climate change. And what the president-elect appears to be trying to do is to deflect attention away from the fact that his incoming administration, his priority is going to be essentially dismantle all climate and clean energy programs in the United States that are our effort to actually deal with the underlying problem.
Because the world is getting warmer. Now, I want to take you guys back a ways. So I'm 54 years old. When I was a kid growing up, I was terrified. Not global warming. I was terrified of a few things, right? It was the Cold War. Oh, God. And there was another thing I was terrified of. A television show called In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy.
You know what I find ironic is the fact that the guy that replaced him in Star Trek as Spock also replaced him as the host of In Search Of.
That's right. So, I don't know. I must have been 7 years old when this came out. And I remember it like it was yesterday. Because there was also a big Time magazine article on the front page. And it talked about not the warming of the planet, that we were all going to be buffalo.
Climate experts believe the next ice age is on its way. According to recent evidence, it could come sooner than anyone had expected. At weather stations in the far north, temperatures have been dropping for 30 years. Seacoasts long free of summer ice are now blocked year-round. According to some climatologists, within a lifetime, we might be living in the next ice age.
That's Spock. He's all about logic. Now, who do I believe? I mean, do I believe the professor? Like, do I believe you, Professor? Or do I believe Spock? Do I believe what you say, who makes a living off of this? And you're a professor and you have all this stuff, and it's all about science, but the science here told me 30 years ago, 40 years ago, that the coming ice age was coming in my lifetime, that we were going to look like buffalo, that it can't be stopped. There's no way to reverse it. Well, who do I believe? I don't know who to believe. I'm sitting there going, do I believe Spock? I think I believe Spock more. It's all about logic with Spock. With you, it feels like a business. Because that's what it is. It's a business. Look, there's 8 billion of us on the planet. Do we have some effect to what goes on the planet? Whether we're digging and mining in areas and just doing it awfully, whether we're polluting our oceans and putting things in there and it's nasty, of course we have some effect on it. But it's negligible. At some point in time, if Mother Earth wants us gone, she'll shake and we'll go. But it's a business. And the business isn't even about making money for some. For the politicians, it's about control. For people like Al Gore's of the world and everybody else, it's just, this is my business. My business is climate change. This is really bad. You are doing horrible things. We need to do this. I need to get stuff published. I need grants. It's like homeless. If we solved the homeless problem tomorrow, people who run homeless places would have no job. This is a job for them. And it's sad that it is this because we're talking about this, but most of you understand what kind of business it is. And when you bring up stuff like, why was it an ice age 40 years ago and it's not now? What did we do 40 years ago? Because I'll tell you what, if you're worried about pollution comparatively today from 40 years ago, I don't know if you're aware of this, it was pretty nasty. It was. Remember the ozone layer? Oh, God, the ozone layer.
Remember Love Canal? How that was going to end up happening everywhere all across the country because we didn't have enough regulation.
Yeah, it is such a business. And when you pay these people enough, they'll find a way to switch their loyalties because it is their business. And I don't begrudge him that. But at the same time, it's hard for me to go against Spock because Spock was right on. I love
And
him.
let's be honest, he usually was right about anything.
He was. Well, he's very logical, right? He took out the emotion, which is what you've got to do in this situation.
You know, it's just Spock was a conservative. That's all you can say about it. He was a conservative.
Very much. A libertarian, conservative bent,
Yes.
no doubt. Absolutely. You could totally tell. What do you think Kirk was? Was he...
Kirk was a girl hound. And I don't think he cared about politics.
Yeah, I don't think he cared
Every
at all
time
about
something would come from Starfleet Command that required diplomatic action on his part, he was like, can't we just go find girls?
That's pretty much it.
He made out with a woman on every planet they visited.
Yeah, he did.
Facts.
There's probably all kinds of bizarre babies all over the universe because of him. 4 eyes, 7 arms, stuff that looks like squids.
They all say, energize.
That's right. He's the greatest overactor of all time, isn't he?
Absolutely.
There's something on the wing. He just gets all in it. There's something on the wing.
A drink of water. Just a drink of water, please.
Oh, my Lord. A lot of stuff still to squeeze into. We're going to step away from the fires. They'll still be there. They're not going anywhere. This is unfortunate. The fires... Watching them dump all this stuff, this fire retardant, all this stuff on top of all of these things it's tough. It's tough to watch because I've got friends who've already lost stuff. And one of my buddies, they had to release their horses in some of the areas. So slap on the butt and the horses take off.
They just let them go so they don't get burned alive?
Yeah, and they know where to go. And so the last time this happened near Malibu, people were like, how did they get him? Well, eventually they'll round him up and they took him last time down towards the beach and kind of corralled them in there, and then people came and got them. That's if they had a place to stick them, because if you lost your house, you don't have a place to stick them. The hotel's not going to let you keep it. That's what I'm telling you. We've got some interesting stuff going on at CES. That's the Consumer Electronics Show. It is fun, I'll tell you that right now. And again, the nerds, they always gravitate towards one thing. It is the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. You want gold. You want it because you need something to protect yourself. In case of an emergency, gold is what it's all about. My buddies over at Birch Gold want to send you out something. It's really cool. It's called The Ultimate Guide to Gold in the Trump Era. They're going to send you out a free information kit about gold. It's about the physical. Who knows where the dollar's going? $36 trillion in debt. Could we see inflation start to take off again? How are you protecting yourself? They can work with you, whether you have an IRA, retirement account, 401k, whatever it is, they can help you with that, and it is amazing. No obligation to get any of this. All you have to do is text Benson to 9898 to receive your free copy. So 989898, Benson, boom, out it comes. And it really is something that I preach to everybody. Take a look at having some of the physical. Because if the zombie apocalypse comes, you may need to trade some of the gold one day. It's just good to know that you've got something there to also protect your retirement as well. Text Benson to 989898 to receive your free copy of The Ultimate Guide to Gold in the Trump Era. Don't wait for lasting peace of mind. Text Benson to 989898.
All right, drivers still seeing a crash blocking the second right lane of 24 westbound there at Haywood Lane in Antioch. We picked one up in Glenview now, Murfreesboro Pike at Briley Parkway, Edge Hill. Injury crash there at Edge Hill and 8th Avenue South. We've got the very latest on the winter storm approaching Middle Tennessee. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass taking heat for some of the decisions she has made, despite the threat of those wildfires now blamed for 5 deaths. That's coming up at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
So CES is going on. That's a Consumer Electronics Show. And several of you have chimed in. You're like, all right, what is this thing you're talking about? Well, the reality of robots, androids, those things are here. And nerds like robots. I like robots. These are different kind of robots.
You know, you and I were watching that video earlier of the guy explaining the systems and the AI and all that. And what blows me away is this is real basic first league technology. Can you imagine in another 2, 5, 10 years where it's going to be?
It's going to be so real. I mean, it is. So let's listen to some of the stuff that this guy's asking Robot Guy.
This is Aria. So this is our flagship humanoid AI-powered robot. She's highly realistic. She has her own social media, so she might be competing with you one day. What makes her really special is that you can talk to her and ask questions. So maybe we can have her introduce herself and say something.
Hello. I'm Aria, the flagship female companion robot of Realbotics.
What's the purpose of this? Some of our peers in the robotic space make robots to replace human labor. We think that's a great area, but we think there's a much bigger area in having social robots. So for example, at a convention like this, we can draw a crowd very easily. Aria's been a little bit of a rock star here, with people taking pictures and coming over. So she can promote your brand. The AI is all customizable, so she can learn all about you and your brand, and she can continue to communicate to people. There's a huge epidemic amongst adolescents and seniors on loneliness. So she can be programmed to know you and learn more about you. So she can make that bond with you that feels like a genuine human connection.
But they're going to clean the houses?
We don't have the ability to clean the house. They don't do physical labor, but they're more there to converse with you. It's companionship. They can actually even be a boyfriend or a girlfriend. So we have built that into our AI as well.
Get to the meat of it. Get to the meat of it, please. They can actually be a boyfriend or girlfriend. That's all I want to know, right? Could she clean houses? I don't care. Is she dishwashable safe? Because she's going to see some stuff. This robot is going to go through some things. And it sounds great, right? That robots, and I do believe there is absolutely going to be a large number of AI companions, especially as we talked about earlier, for the elderly, people like that. Oh, there is no doubt in my mind that's coming. The difference is she doesn't look like somebody that would be hanging out at an elderly people's home. She just doesn't. Now, here's the thing. You're like, well, this sounds good. Wonder what she cost.
How much are they? So a robot like Melody is $150,000, and that's...
But again, that's very, very early tech prices.
Yes, totally. It's like buying that big TV that used to be the...
Yeah, it's like paying $8,000 for a 65-inch flat screen.
Yeah.
And people actually did that at one point in their life.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so that's the same thing here, right? You're getting that first plasma TV, something like that. Oh, my goodness. The difference
You get bragging rights.
You do get bragging rights. You guys want to come over and see my super hot girlfriend? Don't tell my wife. So, Ken, this is what we were saying earlier. I mean, if anybody wants to do this, you can cut me in. You start a brothel. A row brothel. It's not illegal. Right? I mean, it sounds horrible, right? No, but hold on a second. Cuts down on human trafficking. Right? I'm a thinker here.
And we don't have to worry about exploitation until AI becomes sentient.
That's going to be the fear. So, because you can program these things too. This is what's a trip. You could program these things to basically know everything about you, where not only are they learning your mannerisms and things like that, but you send them this big question. They send you this questionnaire. You fill out all this stuff. So they work it in there. So she pretends like she's interested in the fact that you're a pig farmer, right? And she's the new Zsa Zsa Gabor. Right? Like I always love you. Give them accents. And the other weird thing is you can change their face in like 10 seconds because it's all magnetic. And they'll design it to even look like somebody you like. So that girl down the street.
That's the scary part.
That you stalk.
That you just are in love with, who won't give you the time of day.
Yeah, but will she climb the pole to answer the phone?
Maybe. I don't know. How about a Roomba? What's those go for? Oh, my God. So We'll see. We'll see. Maybe we'll give one away on air. Again, my uncle's like, he was there and he's looking, and everybody's surrounding this thing, and his whole thought process is this thing is going to be bought and it's going to be put through hell.
We should literally contact them and ask them if they'll give us a promo to give away on air.
It's going to be. Is the machine washable?
It better be.
It sounds horrible, people, but that's the first thing the nerds always gravitate towards is what kind of sex robot can I build? Well,
she'll be coming out of the woodwork going, yes, sir, how can I pleasure you today? And my response, beef stew and a Diet Pepsi. Thank you.
Diet Pepsi.
A Diet Pepsi. It's a man's drink right there, everybody. It's a man's drink. Oh, my goodness. Coffee, is it good for you? Plus, fun story. You get stuff for Christmas. You're like, I don't know what to do with it. I'm going to send it back. You ever wondered where does it actually go to? We'll talk about that as well. It is Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. So the window of snowfall starts at 2 o'clock tomorrow morning in West Middle Tennessee, then 9 a.m. in East Middle Tennessee. We could see it mixed with sleet in southern parts, and it could have a total of 6 inches by the time it's out of here by Saturday morning. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. CEO Doug Crulin says B&A will be open.
Is ready to go, and for us, we'll start at midnight tonight with pre-treating all the roads, ramps, and runways out here, waiting for the snow to start.
He says, just like always, check with your airline before you head out to the airport and get there 2 hours early. And we know who's taking over as the voice of the Vols.
Touchdown!
Titans radio play-by-play announcer since 1999. Mike Keith replaces Bob Kessling, who retired last year. Keith will call Vols football and men's basketball games. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass taking heat for decisions she made ahead of the Santa Ana wildfire threat. First, for cutting $18 million from the fire department.
Money was allocated to be distributed later on, which was actually going to support salaries and other parts of the fire department that were distributed a little later.
Bass also under fire for leaving on a trip to Ghana despite the threat. And in our nation's capital,
Our Father, who art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
A reading of the Lord's Prayer at former President Jimmy Carter's state funeral this morning at the National Cathedral. Our 39th president's remains now on the way to his final resting place beside his wife in Plains, Georgia. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Now it's time for the Chad Action News Weather Report. When weather weathers, we weather the storm. We always weather the storm here because when it weathers, it weathers. And that's what we're doing now. We do have a big storm front coming through. WSMV meteorologist Dan Thomas joins the program. All right, man, give it to us straight. Are we going to get a lot of snow?
All right, Chad. Yeah, I think we are. I think this looks like largely a snow producer in Nashville and surrounding spots. It's probably moving in just before sunrise tomorrow, so probably 5 to 6 a.m. And then once it starts to fall, it's going to stack pretty quickly. We'll have wake-up temperatures in the mid to upper 20s. And so any of that snow, obviously, is as soon as it sticks, it's going to stick on the road, stick on the grass and that sort of thing. I think we'll have banding of moderate to heavy snow at times tomorrow, so it's a perfect day to stay off the roads. Let the road crews do all they can to keep the roads as clear as possible, but I don't think they'll be able to keep up. Just too much snow falling too quickly, and so just very treacherous conditions on our roads around Nashville at the airport as well. I think it's tapering off tomorrow evening. Now, it's possible we'll get a little mixing. It's even a possibility that happens in Nashville with a little rain or sleet or something like that. It's much more likely over southern Middle Tennessee. But right now, most of the mid-state gets probably 4, 5, 6 inches of snow. Some areas will overperform and do even more than that.
Oh, that's going to be awesome. Overperform. Good, because a lot of people are staying. Oh, I mean, look, you know what? If you're going to get a storm, let's get a storm, right, Dan? I mean, I don't want something crappy. I want something real.
Let's get a storm. Hey, I told my kids I'm pulling down my skis tonight. I haven't skied in 20 years, but I'm going to see if they still work on the front yard probably Saturday morning.
Look at that. Dan's like, hey, you know what, kids? Come on outside. Watch me blow out my ACL.
That's right. Ambulance on standby.
We got real questions from a lot of people out there. First of all, what's a Doppler?
What's a Doppler? A Doppler is essentially a radar. Doppler was a scientist back in the day. So it's just a radar that uses essentially a phase shift in the wavelength. As it sends out energy, it bounces off things, comes on back, and you could tell whether it's moving in a certain direction, how large it is sometimes, how heavy that precipitation is. So it's a radar reference.
See, guys, right? Dan's got it going on because he's telling you. He's a meteorologist. He knows what a Doppler is, and that's what matters. So tomorrow, overnight, as it starts to get, cold and stuff, people really need to worry. It's not so much the snow. It's the ice. It's the black ice. It's the not knowing, what's around the corner and stuff. How bad do you think it's going to be in and around town? Because, bridges are always susceptible because they're not close to the ground. But this sounds like we're going to get a lot of that even on the ground.
Yeah, the thing with bridges and overpasses is that they cool from above and below. So they don't have the benefit of a heat source from the summertime from below. So those get really slick most quickly. I think the roads head downhill. Of course, the interstate, a lot of the roads were brined. But I'm telling you, brine doesn't matter if you get into a super heavy band of snow and it's 30 degrees. Even though you would think, brine is going to melt all this stuff, if it comes down heavily enough, it's going to stick. And then once you have that initial coating, it's game on from that point on. So I think we'll have some of that banding, we call it, some of those bursts of moderate to heavy snow. That's going to get the accumulation going. And then from that point on, unless you get a lot of traffic, and I hope we don't tomorrow, I don't think we will. I think roads will all get treacherous. If you have to go somewhere, I've been saying this on TV for the last 2 days. If you're a doctor, nurse, you work in a hospital, if you're a news person, I have to come to work tomorrow. I'm going to take my wife's truck. Choose the flattest route. It may take you twice as long distance-wise. It doesn't matter. Hills will get you in trouble every single time. Do everything you can do to avoid those hills.
Talking to Dan Thomas, WSMV meteorologist. Is it going to kind of blow through, or is there any kind of worry that this thing may linger about? Because you never can tell. It's nature.
Yeah, no, I can tell. No chance of lingering. But, unless you call it 12 hours lingering. So the storm is on the move. It's not going to, what we say is cut off. Sometimes they cut off the East Coast, and they hang around for 2 days. No chance of that, not seeing that at all. I think this thing zips out to sea. It hits, the far southeast tomorrow during the day, tomorrow night, Carolinas, Georgia, and then it's gonzo. So, again, 12 hours of snow, maybe a little mixing, best chance of mixing far southern Middle Tennessee, more of a possibility up to 840. I'd be surprised if we get much in the way of mixing around the I-40 corridor in Nashville. So plan on the good old-fashioned snowstorm, the heaviest snow we've seen in a year or more.
What is the what does it look like in the coming days after this? Are we going to get anything behind this, or is this kind of our one little oomph for a while?
Yeah, so here's the deal. So what we have is Saturday, it's cold, minimal melting, a lot of clouds. Sunday, if you can get your walkway and driveways cleared tomorrow and or Saturday, get them cleared quickly. Sunday, the sun comes out, we get to 38. I think that makes a big difference. Areas that are hit by sun that have been really properly shoveled are going to be in great shape by Sunday afternoon. Not ice-free, but just much better shape. And I think as we get into next week, we have high temperatures under partly cloudy skies, low to mid to upper 30s, I should say, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday, Friday, we have temperatures in the 50s, so it gets much warmer. Martin Luther King Day Jr. weekend follows. And here comes our next storm.
Ooh.
And right now, and for the last couple of days, it looks like that's going to be rain turning to maybe a burst of snow on the backside. So it could be, for some of you, a little 1-2 whammy, but I do think we get at least 2 warmer days. That's going to eat up a lot of this stuff late next week.
Hey, Dan, is this like your Super Bowl, right?
This is Super Bowl 1. Super Bowl 2 for me is Penn State tonight. I'm a Penn Stater. Got to watch that game.
Okay, but this is kind of like you guys get all jazzed up and excited about stuff like this, like the nerds who love politics, that the election. But this is kind of your jam.
Chad, this is why I live here. I could never live in coastal California. Could never live west of the Rockies. I'd be more bored than not. But here, it changes every 2, 3, 4 days, and it's like a Super Bowl all the time.
I love it, man. I love it. Dan Thomas, WSMV, thanks so much for coming on today and keeping us abreast of what's going on out there and being the person that you were to share what a Doppler was to us.
You got it. Anytime.
Thanks. So there you go. We got some cold weather, guys. You guys get it. It's going to be cold. Button up and stay home. I don't think Bell and I are going to be here tomorrow. I don't know if Ken's coming in. Ken, you coming in? You staying here?
I'm going to be home, boys.
Okay, he's going to be home. So it's just us, man. Bell is going to be you and I.
Soft clothes, Ken?
No, I'll be dressed properly.
No, I think I'm going to wear my soft clothes in.
Are you?
Yeah. Just sweatpants and a T-shirt.
That's good. I think I'll do the same. I got to walk, though, because I'm walking. Because I promised myself I'm walking, and I'm going to brave it. Plus, if you don't walk, you can't gripe to your kids about all the stuff that you've done if you didn't actually do it.
You got to do it.
And my kids will see it, and that's the thing that's going to go, oh, God, he really did do it. Speaking of the winter, Christmas has just passed. And have you ever wondered, you bought something, you're like, oh my God, look at this. It's an ugly thing. I'm sending it back, or it's got a ding in it, or whatever reason. And have you ever thought, where exactly does this go?
If you've returned a Christmas gift, there's a good chance it ended up here. What you're looking at right now is 100,000 square feet of returns. That's right, returns. This cavernous warehouse, Liquidity Services, is packed with items that are 70 to 80% off the original price. Some Nike sneakers, Super Mario Lego set, charcoal grill system right there. Consumers bid for the items in an online auction and pick up the items here in Pittston, Pennsylvania.
And stuff is cheap. I mean, it is one of those things where you're like, you can find things and you're like, really? And it's a crapshoot, right? You're bidding on it, you're looking at it. Some of it it's got dings. It's kind of like when you go to, Marshall's or somewhere like that. It's, you never know. It's like, hey, it's a great sweater, but one of the arms is a little longer than the other. That kind of thing.
Why would a retailer send this here instead of putting it back on their shelf?
So returns are going to have some imperfections, and the most common thing we see is box damage.
Workers check the returns to make sure they're not damaged or missing parts. A Way Plus scooter, 70 to 80% off.
Brand new, never opened.
This granddad is loading up on items for a nursery, which at retail would probably cost him $1,500. His price?
$210.
Wow. This woman had stacks of boxes.
This is a retro turntable.
The wood grain turntable goes for $80.
I got it for $16.
Now that's a bargain.
And that's what a lot of people do. They go online because you can buy pallets of stuff. Sometimes it's sight unseen. It's a little bit of a crapshoot. And you can go out, and that's what people do. They resell these things.
I bought a new router off of Amazon, and turned out I didn't need it. So it's still in the box, getting ready to return. Guess where I'm dropping it off?
I don't know where you drop them off here.
Whole Foods.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have since Amazon owns Whole Foods, they have the department in the store that accepts Amazon returns.
That's crazy. Yeah, like when I was in Phoenix, or not Phoenix, out in Valley of the Dirt People, we used to have to drop it off at Kohl's, which I found to just be so weird. But you don't know where they go, because sometimes they will go back to the person who sold it to you, the group that sold it to you. But a lot of times, especially if it's an Amazon project, something like that, they send it off somewhere else.
I could tell from the way that they set up the return that this is going to end up on a pallet somewhere. I didn't even open the box. I didn't even open the package. So it's still in box. It's still mint condition. And it would have been, I think I paid $134 for it that I got refunded. And you get for $20.
Yeah. I mean, you're like, the scooter, like, because when I watched the video, the scooter is a super expensive scooter. I think I got it for like 80% off. And what do you think he's going to do? He's going to flip it. We're helping you, people. We're giving you opportunities to make business decisions that will help you in the future. Okay? That's what we do. Absolutely what we do. You can't have my brothel idea with the robots. You know that's going to happen. Why wouldn't it happen? Well, I mean, I'm like, all kidding aside, but mostly kidding. If you think about it, because I told Belle, it's really weird because I got really into it with Belle. I'm like, all right, check it out. So we got this space, we got this, and this. We're going to set it up, video games for people to play because they're nerds. And they're going to want to play video games. I want to play World of Warcraft. I want to play, whatever. And they come and they play World of Warcraft or any of that stuff. And, you bring them out, maybe a beverage or something. And then you let them design whatever they want. It's like Westworld, which was a great movie. I never saw the HBO series.
It was really good.
Was it?
Yeah. I mean, obviously it deviates a big degree, but the writing on it and the storytelling and some of the actors they have are just absolutely amazing.
Well, yeah, because it's got to deviate, because it's the new world we live in where everything has to be grittier, raunchier, sexier.
Well, that and Yul Brynner's dead.
Yul Brynner is dead. It's great. The King and I. He was awesome. Just fantastic. There's more stuff to get to. We're going to talk about coffee. You're a coffee drinker. You're going to want to hear this. Is it good for you? Just like, are eggs good for you? Maybe. Depends who did the study. Talk about that straight ahead. It is the Chad Benson Show. Super Talk 99.7. Rough Greens, ruffgreens.com. It's a powder supplement. You go there and you get it for your dog. You're like, what? And they got Meow Greens as well. And you're saying to yourself, okay, so what is this, Chad? It's a powder supplement. Like you and I would have a powder supplement for, working out or being healthy. It's the same thing, but it's for your animals. And the beauty of this is you don't have to do anything crazy. You don't have to cook them food or make them anything. You just sprinkle it on top of their food. Enzymes, vitamins, probiotics, omega-3, 6, 9. It's got all of this incredible stuff, vegetables, fruits. It's amazing what it does. And what it does is it brings the food that your dog or cat is eating to life, because so much of that stuff is shelf stable. It's not really, it's dead food, essentially. This is going to help that come to life, and it's going to give them more. It's going to help with aches and pains in their joints. It's going to help with their activity. Maybe they're a little lethargic, teeth, gums, you name it. It's going to help them with it. I want you to try a Jumpstart trial bag for free. It's a $20 value. All they ask you to do is cover the cost of shipping. ruffgreens.com. Use code CHAD. $20 value, a Jumpstart trial bag, whether it's Meow Greens or Rough Greens. Use my code CHAD. You get it for free. ruffgreens.com, code CHAD.
All right, still got that crash in Antioch. The second right lane is blocked, 24 westbound right there at Haywood Lane. Then over on the East Loop downtown, road construction has the right lane blocked going westbound near Jefferson Street and the 1st Street exit 47. And an announcement from Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti. He says the Biden administration's Title IX changes have been blocked. We'll tell you about it at 2 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Blocked. Yeah, blocked. Yeah, blocked. Wonder Woman. Hey. Remember Wonder Woman had those wrist things that would block all the bullets?
Oh, yeah.
Wonder Woman.
Magic bracelets.
I remember every episode it would show her lifting the back of a car.
Yeah, for whatever reason. It's
Yeah.
like, you want to see how strong I am? No, actually, I don't. Gail Gadot's hot, by the way. Just FYI.
Oh, those movies are outstanding.
Linda Carter is beautiful, but
still.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, she is. I mean, she's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But Gail Gadot just, she has 4 kids.
Gail Gadot?
Yeah, she just had another kid the other day.
Wow.
My goodness.
Linda Carter was actually in the sequel. To Gail,
she was, which was the worst movie.
Horrible, but it was so cool to see her in it though, because she played Wonder Woman's mother.
Yeah, which
it's just a nice little pop up.
I like. You know what else? Did you see Fall Guy?
No.
Okay, I thought I'm gonna watch it. First of all, Ryan Gosling he's an awesome actor, and I would hate to be him because it would, what would I do being that beautiful? But he's really funny. The movie's great, but yes, there is a Lee Majors sighting and a Heather Thomas sighting from Fall Guy, which was just
you know what? I didn't even think about that when you brought it up. I'm like, what's that got to do with Wonder? Oh, because there was a show that they turned into a movie.
Yeah, they did. That's what we do now, kids, because Hollywood's run out of stuff to talk about for sure. Although with this fire, I'm sure they'll come up with something. Speaking of fire, it's all Trump's fault, but Trump's not president yet. But he does have to do some stuff. Big bill, little bill, 2 bills, 3 bills. He's got to get his people over the line.
In a statement, the Democratic senator says, quote, "No one is my gatekeeper." John Fetterman says he'll have conversations with anyone if it helps him deliver for Pennsylvania. In addition to accepting the invitation to Mar-a-Lago, Fetterman also recently met with Pete Hegseth, Trump's nominee to be defense secretary. Fetterman broke from the progressive wing of his party last year when he became an outspoken supporter of Israel in its war on Hamas.
Yeah. And he, you know what I say, he's my liberal spirit animal because he doesn't care. And I love that about him. And you've got to be able to challenge ideas. And I think at one time he was uber progressive because that was a part you had to play. I think he got there and realized nothing gets done. These people are crazy. Why is the guy who had a stroke, who started off his debate with good night, remember that, who wears tennis shoes and a hoodie, why is he more mature than everybody else there?
And they actually changed the Senate rules to allow him to show up in his normal attire.
And I like it. I think it's great.
Everybody else is expected to wear a suit, but you know what? We're going to change it just for this guy.
Yeah, well, it's funny because Kyrsten Sinema, who was the senator from Arizona, she'd wear wigs and wacky outfits and stuff. And they had to, remember when everybody went to was it the first or the second speech that Trump gave, State of the Union, and everybody wore like red or black and she wore like white just to piss them all off, which I loved. But I like the fact that you've got to be willing to talk to people to get things done. No other business in the world would be successful if we didn't talk to each other. Could you imagine if you were at an accounting firm and you're like, we need to get that paperwork over here? No, I'm not. I refuse to work with them. And then they're like, no, I refuse to work with you. And so what happens? It all falls apart. No other business. And the only reason they can do that is because, as they like to say, they like to raise revenue. No, you take taxes. Private businesses have revenue. You take taxes. And if you didn't take taxes, you wouldn't succeed. It's that simple. A lot of stuff still to get to next hour, including coffee. Is it good for you? We're going to talk a bit about that, bunch of other things as well. It is the Chad Benson Show. Super Talk 99.7.
2 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Channel 4's Dan Thomas gives us the timeline for the winter storm tomorrow morning.
By 5 a.m., based on the latest timing in Nashville in the morning. Notice some of the pink, and then it goes back to all snow. And then we have some of that sleet mixing across southern Middle Tennessee. Midday tomorrow, it could get up to Columbia, Murfreesboro, maybe even Nashville as well. Here's 3 in the afternoon. And then notice starting to taper off from west to east tomorrow evening. By first thing on Saturday morning, we're just dealing with a couple of snow flurries here and there.
Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Right now in Tennessee, State Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti says it's another massive win for Tennessee and the country. A federal judge in Kentucky blocking the Biden administration changes to Title IX that would have required teachers and administrators to use pronouns that do not align with a student's biological sex. It also means schools do not have to allow boys who identify as girls to use girls' bathrooms or locker rooms. Attorney General Skrmetti and nearly 24 other attorneys general sued in the United States District Court for the Eastern District of Kentucky, arguing the Biden mandate goes against their state laws banning transgender students from participating in women's sports. And as firefighters battle to control the blazes spreading across the Los Angeles area, residents are returning to find what's left of their homes. That was the case for this widow in the Pacific Palisades who returned to find her home destroyed.
I'm not crying. I can't. I was numb. So this is more of a paralysis, but it's also the real.
What's your doorknob?
Oh, yeah.
We're there, lady. We're there. We'll get it.
The realization that, there's nothing I can do. It's like, it's done.
Yeah, she says she left her house not because of the fire, but because of the smoke and didn't think this is what she had returned to. Meanwhile, Mayor Karen Bass on the hot seat for decisions during the threat of Santa Ana winds, like cutting $18 million from the fire department just a couple of months ago.
There were no reductions that were made that would have impacted the situation that we were dealing with over the last couple of days.
She's also being criticized for taking a trip to Ghana during the threat and had to rush back once the fire started. The death toll still stands at 5. Solemn music heard as former President Jimmy Carter's casket is carried out of the National Cathedral in Washington following his state funeral today. All of the surviving presidents were there in attendance. Now the former president's casket headed to Plains, Georgia for his final resting place next to his wife. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Ugly, nasty, still on fire. California's burning. Shouldn't laugh. It is. And it's funny because you heard Karen Bass earlier. It's like there's nothing that we did here just recently that would have caused, any of this.
There were no reductions that were made that would have impacted the situation that we were dealing with over the last couple of days.
No, because it's not over the last couple days. It's not. It's over years and decades. It's over decades. Yes, you're right. The 17 million you pulled last year, did that have a huge impact? No, not really. Why? Because you've been crippling them for decades. This is a fellow council person talking about the fact that, well, it's been a nightmare for them for a while.
We have also chronically underfunded our fire department for decades.
Decades. So this was just the straw that broke the camel's back. That was it. Because it happened somewhere that people got affected that are their voters. It happened somewhere where it was in their community. It wasn't in a canyon far away that the air was bad and you could see it and there was a threat of some homes and you maybe lose one or two. This hit in the center of their community. You've underfunded, you've underdelivered, you've allocated money to other things. And when you did get a bond to fix several of these things, you tied everything up through bureaucracy. And you made everything about DEI. Because as a politician in California, DEI matters. Because there's a lot of simpletons out there who they make feel like, you guys are idiots, and we're here to better your life. So you are a group of people that essentially need a hero, and I'm the hero that's going to come give you everything that you want and you desire. And so let me help you. And then that's what they do. And then they never deliver. And then they come back again and again. And then they don't deliver. And they make the promise, we're going to take care of you. And then they don't deliver again. And then they don't deliver again. You see where we're going? Never, ever, ever do they seem to deliver what they need to deliver. But this time it hit them in a place that wasn't just, these people vote with us. It hit them in a place that they've never been hit before because they're donors. It hit them in a place where, hey, that person down the street that doesn't make a lot of money and their entire family lives in a 2-bedroom house that votes for us because I'm going to be their hero. Well, now the people that live in a 12-bedroom house, who talk about us on television, who champion us, who push the ideas that we have, who are never really affected by anything. Well, now they're affected. And that's the issue that they haven't had. And they may start to feel what that's like. In politics, rarely do you convince people through conversation. Rarely can you show somebody the data and convince them of something. It's usually something that has an effect on your life. And then all of a sudden, you're like, oh, well, wait a minute here. And then you start to realize what's going on out there. And that's what's going to happen now.
All the people in the Palisades, I checked it out. It's about 80% blue, 80% progressive, 80% Democrat. Now, these are all sitting around crying about Karen Bass, water pressure, how come the forest wasn't cleared of all the brush, what's happening with the infrastructure. You guys all voted for Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles. You all voted for Gavin Newsom. And now you get what you get.
Amen. You get what you get. You effed around and you found out. Now you have to go through what everybody else in the world has to go through. Now you have to be put in a situation where you are just like everyone else. Now you have to be essentially a regular old Joe.
Oh, now that your house is on fire, now you want to know what's going on. What's going on around here? You didn't give a shit about what was going on when other people's houses were on fire, but now you care. So here's what's going to happen. All these people who were deep blue Democrats now going to have to pull a permit to rebuild. They're going to get the 28-year-old from the Coastal Commission telling them to go off. And then they're going to vote for Trump or whoever's Trumpian next. You see, they're going to get turned. They're going to get turned hard. But go deal with the city. Try to pull a permit.
And you put this with what took place in the last election, where many people, stars and big Democrats, are angry about the fact that they were lied to with Joe Biden, are upset about the fact that many of them who are now coming out. I saw Whitney Cummings coming out the other day and said, look, I'm not really into politics, but she goes, maybe you think I'm red-pilled? The Democrats lost their mind. They're telling me I can't criticize Kamala. They tell me we are the people who are all about choice, but I couldn't choose to have the vaccine or not have the vaccine. I couldn't choose who the candidate was going to be, and they bullied me because it's about power. It's about checking boxes. And this is what you get. And then they push insane things like DEI. Look, I love diversity, but the most important diversity is in your mind. It's not the color of your skin. It's not who you worship. It's not who you love. It's not what you identify as. You can't be diverse in your mind and have conversations with people. It's not a good thing. But this was about checking boxes. And checking boxes for really important jobs. No, I'm sorry. That's insane. And you know how I know? Because if it comes to Gavin Newsom and he has to have open heart surgery tonight, God willing he doesn't, do you think he's going to go, who's the most diverse candidate you have? Who's part of a group of minorities that have been absolutely crushed by the system that we're giving them a hand? No, he's going to say, give me the best person you have. If it comes to a pilot, do you care what your pilot looks like? Are you one of these people that are like, if my pilot's not trans, I'm not getting on? Or do you think, if the plane's wings fall off, I want the best person who's going to land this thing. I don't care who it is. Give me the best. Those things matter. Schools. I mean, look at schools, for God's sakes. All of these people have their kids in private schools. Why? Because they want their kids to have the best. That's what they want. They want you to live in the way they want you to live. They want you to live by the rules that they come up with because it's great for the activists and stuff. They love to check box and feel like they're doing something amazing. It really doesn't do anything but tear us apart when they put these crazy things in there. And then for some of the most important jobs, they want to be super DEI and inclusive, and we got to do this. And what ends up happening is you don't get the people that you need, and you can't fill all of the positions. So this wasn't a situation where you took $17 million away from the fire department. This was something that has happened over the last several decades, culminating in a nightmare that landed on your doorstep, and you're trying to figure out, how do you fix it? I don't even know. No, you don't. And they're starting to get it. This is a sister right here who took to the interwebs yesterday. She was not happy.
Karen,
Bass needs to resign now. Gets off the plane at noon. A Sky News reporter confronts her, and what does she do? Nothing. She stands there in silence, looks straight ahead. Do you know why? Because our California politicians believe that they don't have to answer our questions. That's how they've been living in this ecosystem. Thank you to the sycophants at LA Times and Sacramento Bee and everywhere else that has never asked a hard question or never requested a follow-up to an idiot answer from any of our politicians ever. And now we're all paying the price for it. I frankly think you people are complicit in this mess. You don't hold our politicians accountable, and it's literally your job.
You okay? You okay? You got more to say? All right.
Karen Bass needs to resign now. And frankly, every member of the Los Angeles Times board needs to resign too. You're killing us with your incompetency. All of progressive California media needs to take 1 million seats. You've betrayed us, you're pathetic, and you're the reason Karen Bass thinks she can stand there and not answer her own constituents as to why she has been AWOL while her city burns to the ground. Karen Bass needs to resign now.
She was very forceful in that. How do you really feel about Karen? Are you going to vote for her again? A vote for Karen is a vote for insanity. This is what you get. And you do the same thing over and over, and you're going to get the same results. And people don't change unless it affects them. And this has affected a large swath of people who are angry about all of this. And that's when you hit the critical mass. You saw a little bit of this in New York City. With the massive amounts of immigration going on, they couldn't ignore it any longer. See, when it was Texas' fault, for this, that they blamed it on everybody, nobody bought it after a while. But when it was part Texas, part Arizona, and they had to basically cover all the bill, it didn't affect me, right? I could stand there and say, I want open borders or I want this. But the minute it affects you, everything changes. Everything changes. And this has affected people in a way that they never thought. And will politicians learn? They're only going to learn when you fire them. They're only going to learn when you hit a certain amount of critical mass that sees parts of your party that has been loyal to you start to move in a direction that you didn't think would happen. And a lot of people thought Karen Bass wasn't going to win last time because of the homeless issue, but she got through. This has finished her off. Doesn't mean a Republican's going to win, but this has definitely sent a message. And we're seeing that across the country in several cities where they're recalling woke DAs, where they're recalling people who thought, hey, it's great to just let people out of jail. And once again, it sounds great. Like, oh, yeah, we shouldn't be putting people away for this, or we shouldn't be doing that's petty crime. We shouldn't be doing. But the minute it affects you and you have to go and they've locked your toothpaste up and all of a sudden now, something I got to do, it starts to make people change their mind. We are going to talk coffee. So when I was a kid growing up, coffee was good. Coffee was bad. Wine was good. Wine was bad. Cholesterol was bad. Don't ever eat an egg. Don't
touch red meat. No red meat.
Oh, God, you had red meat. Don't do that. Then eat red meat. Then a kind of red meat, then no red meat. And this is bad. What's the new data on coffee and sugary drinks? We'll talk about that. This is the Chad Benson Show at Super Talk 99.7. The playoffs are here. Prize Picks is ready to help you win big. And Prize Picks is so easy. I use it all the time, whether I'm playing the Premier League or the NFL. It is awesome. Last week I won big thanks to a guy named Mo Salah and Amad Diallo, 2 players, because that's how you pick them, right? You pick them, and it'll be like this person's going to get X amount of shots above or below. This person's going to score a goal, yes or no. And boom, I won. And with Prize Picks, you can win up 1,000 times your money. And to start off, when you play your first lineup, they're going to give you a $50 bonus. All you have to do is play $5. And then boom, $50 goes right to you. It is so cool, and it is so easy. So how do you get your $50? Simple. Use code CHAD when you create your account. So you download the app Prize Picks. They're going to send you $50 the minute you play your first $5 lineup. Simple and easy to do. A lot of fun. Football, you name it. Every sport, soccer, they've got it all. So easy. You're playing lineups. You're not picking this, that, and the other. That's how easy it is. Anybody can do it. So grab your phone right now. Download the app today. Dive into the action. Don't forget, when you use my code CHAD, after you download the app, you play a $5 lineup, they give you 50 extra bucks right there. Prize Picks, run your game. Pushing all the buttons here. I feel like a bad pilot. Don't be injured in life, even though we are injured. You get older. I get older. We all get older. You know what? Things don't work the way they used to, right? Your back hurts all the time. You ever sneeze and hurt your back? Yeah, we've all done it. Get over and see my buddy, Dr. Mitchell, at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. And a back is nothing to mess with. And they're going to be straight honest with you, Dr. Ashley, Dr. Mitchell. If you need surgery, they're going to tell you to go get surgery. But in many cases, and I mean the vast majority, you don't need it. Maybe with your knee, like me, because I had bad knees. They are going to do things that you're going to go, whoa. Half off spinal decompression treatments, half off the KT knee machine right now. I want you to do this. Call 615-246-5009. 615-246-5009. Go see them. Tell them I sent you. When you get in there, you're going to be surprised. And you know what's most important? You're going to feel so much better. Go over. Wellness Institute of Nashville today. Call 615-246-5009.
All right, still working that crash that is blocking the second right lane of 24 westbound at Haywood Lane, exit 57 in Antioch. Over on the East Loop, westbound near Jefferson Street, still got that accident. Then 40 eastbound at Church Street have an accident. And Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Skermetti says a federal judge just delivered what he calls a huge win for Tennessee and women and girls across America. That's coming up at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Always amazed that anybody would say that. And it's not a ton of girls, right? Like that, you've got boys playing in the sports, but it's enough. And it's not fair to girls. And yes, men have an inherent advantage. Kids have an inherent advantage. So my son's 14. He's a big kid. Up until 2 years ago, he had girls on his team. In fact, one girl, she was awesome. She could skate like there was no tomorrow. She was easily the best skater on the team. Then hitting came in. And that's when,
like checking on the ice?
Mm-hmm. And that's when everything changed.
That's different.
Because he was like 5'6" and 150 pounds. He was a beast. She's like 4'8".
Yeah.
So he body checks her, and it's going to hurt.
Yeah, and he felt bad. Like he would feel bad, but that's just the reality of it. And on top of that, that year difference is the kids skating got 1,000 times better. Although she was an ice skater, and she wanted to play hockey. But the boys got way better at skating, and then you had the physical difference. when I was living in California, after my playing days, I still played indoor soccer. And we played co-ed, right? So co-ed. Okay, we played against national team girls. I'm fat, eating a donut. They couldn't take the ball away from me. I'm serious. I'm like, you won a Women's World Cup? Well, good for you, right? It's just the reality of it, and it's not fair. And I don't want to. You know what? If you're going through that confusion, if you're going through it, and I understand. It's got to be extremely tough. You don't want to ostracize somebody, but the one thing somewhere along the line, we've decided that the girls' opinions don't matter. And that's where it went wrong. Because we were trying to say, look, this is an oppressed minority. And you, who normally we would take your word for anything, we're not going to do that anymore. You don't matter anymore. And we can't have that. We can't. And to see these people who are wackadoos are like, oh, yeah, you know what? They should be allowed to. Well, then why don't we just get rid of any kind of category that's gender? And we'll just go from there. Do you remember, what was her name? Serena Williams. She was on a late night talk show. And this was after, I think, McEnroe said something. It was several years ago, but this is when she was dominating, right? You're out there and you're watching her. She's just crushing, because she was that, I was like, why is the Predator playing tennis against everybody else? And it was just, she was so freaking amazing. She was dominant beyond dominant. And they said, is she the greatest tennis player in the world or of all time? And he goes, among women? And everybody's like, oh, how could that be? And that caused a big stir. Then she went on to a late night talk show and she said, they said, are you the greatest of all time? And she's like, no, I'm not the greatest of all time. She goes, if I played Andy Murray, the Wimbledon winner, he'd beat me in 15 minutes, 6-love, 6-love. And it's not because she's not the greatest. She would destroy all of us. But there is a difference. And that's just the reality of it. And then I'm not even talking about the physical advantages where you might see girls get hurt, but just psychologically as well. The things that you're going through, you've trained your whole life for this, you're playing the sport, you're doing this, and you've got limited time, maybe high school if you like, you play college, and it gets kind of ruined because the opportunities aren't there. The UN a couple weeks ago got absolutely lambasted because there was a report that came out that said trans athletes took about 900 medals away from women over X a period of time. Don't know how long it was.
What's the Riley?
Riley Gaines.
Riley Gaines. Mm-hmm. She actually tied Leah Thomas. Thomas, and was given second place.
Yeah. And the thing about Riley Gaines is, she is like Leah Thomas is a below average male swimmer. Way better than all of us, but way below average. She was competitive enough that, she's looking at maybe I go to the Olympics trials and see how I do. It's common sense. I think that's what all anybody's asking for is common sense. And somewhere along the line, we decided, no, common sense isn't needed because there's a group over here that we can attach ourselves to that will help us check boxes and that we can make them an oppressed minority and we can go from there. It will help us raise money. It's sad. It's sad. Very, very sad. And as the father of daughters as well as a son, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. No. And nor should it. Coming up, we are talking a little coffee, and we're going to talk some sugary drinks. If you're missing the show, shame, right, Bell? Shame on you. It is Chad. What?
No, you listen to the show, or we're going to shame you.
Shame. Bell's coming to your house. Shame. It's the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.
.2:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. The first snowflakes fall in West Middle Tennessee around 2 o'clock this morning. Then by 9 o'clock in the morning, it'll be widespread across the state. Could get up to 6 inches. Might even mix with some sleet before it's all said and done. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti says a federal judge in Kentucky just delivered what he calls a huge win for Tennessee, for common sense, and for women and girls across America. A judge striking down the Biden administration rule that would require schools and administrators to use pronouns based on a student's gender identity and provide access to girls' bathrooms and locker rooms to boys who identify as female. It's the end of an era in Tennessee sports broadcasting. Titans radio play-by-play announcer since 1999, Mike Keith, will replace Bob Kessling, who served as the voice of the Vols for 25 years. Keith will call Vols football and men's basketball games. A lot of uncertainty for the Tennessee hemp industry and legal access to products that provide a marijuana-type high. A judge is reviewing a State Department of Agriculture rule that growers and sellers say will put them out of business because of the way THC will be regulated. Meanwhile, over in the legislature, State Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson tells WTN's Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis lawmakers are considering medicinal purposes.
And yes, we have no problem. If there's a clear evidence when someone is suffering and there is a medicinal use and they can benefit from the use of these products, we will absolutely look at that and make that legal for them.
So current sales of hemp-derived THC products are legal until February 18th. More questions about fire department budget cuts in L.A. as wildfires continue to ravage parts of the city. City Councilwoman Tracy Parks says it's happened for decades.
We have suffered from chronic underinvestment in both our critical infrastructure and our public safety resources.
But Mayor Karen Bass says nothing was done that would have impacted this situation when she cut $18 million from the fire department's budget just a couple of months ago. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Rough greens. It's for your dog. It's for your cat. How for your cat? Because I got meow greens now, and it's awesome. So let me tell you a little something about my cat, Angus. It's my daughter's cat. Big, ginormous kitty. Had horrific allergies. And I mean, like to the point where he scratched everything. His neck was bleeding. He had no fur. And we tried everything. And we started giving him meow greens. I said, hey, Chad, try this because we've been using rough greens for years on our dogs. We started giving him meow greens, and within a couple weeks, boom, his hair started growing back. The allergies were gone. He was energetic again. It is awesome. These are supplements, powder form. One scoop on top of your dog or cat's food. The food you're feeding them now is going to change their lives big time. It's going to help them in their health. It's going to help them their joints, their aches and their pains, their lethargy if they've got it, their teeth, their gums, their fur, their skin. It is awesome. Try a Jumpstart trial bag for free now. All they ask you to do is cover the cost of shipping. It is that simple. ruffgreens.com. Use code Chad. That's ruffgreens.com. Code Chad. $20 value. Absolutely free. You cover the cost of shipping. ruffgreens.com. Code Chad.
I want some bumps.
It's got breaking news. Breaking news. Jim Cantori is in Nashville, the weather guy. Once he's here, it's over. I mean, this is it. Do you think we're going to get a snow-nami? That sounds awesome, doesn't it?
You think he'll be reporting from a pedal tavern?
Yes. Do you remember when he freaked out? He got super excited for thunder snow or whatever it was? That was awesome.
Thunder snow?
Oh, you never saw that?
No.
Oh, you got to find. He was doing a live thing, and it just thundered behind him, and he was like,
during a snowstorm.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And so once thunder snow happened, I mean, he threw his microphone. It was over. It was like he won something.
Thunder snow sounds like something that would be in an episode of Thundercats.
Yeah. Thunder snow. Oh my Lord. Coffee, kids. Not just for breakfast, but maybe that's the only place you should have coffee.
And, we've known throughout the years that coffee is good for us. Usually they say about 2 to 4 cups a day can really help with all-cause mortality, with cardiovascular health, all these things. But we've never looked at the timing, and that's what this study did. It looked at the timing and found out that if you drink that coffee before noon, you get those benefits. If you drink it after noon, you don't get any benefits.
And why wouldn't you?
Well, we think there's a couple reasons. Number one, it turns out that in the morning, because of our circadian rhythms, we absorb the antioxidants a lot better than we do in the afternoon. Plus, we think in the afternoon that caffeine can interfere with your melatonin, which can interfere with your sleep, and we know how crucial sleep is.
Sleep is very crucial. I don't sleep much. I never have, even as a child. I never slept. But it is important, and it's becoming more and more important. I think we realize rest is important. So I try to take little naps. So I might sleep for 2 or 3 hours at night, and then maybe during the day, if I have a chance, I'll try to grab an hour here and an hour there. But it's important. But you got to make sure you drink your coffee in the right way. Now, I don't remember as a kid going 4 cups is good for you.
I don't recall that either.
Right? Because it used to be, have 1 cup, not too many. And then it was no, because you can't have it because of caffeine.
Well, if you put a raw egg in it, though, with some ribeye shavings, then it's completely healthy.
Do you remember with the whole attack? Who started? Was that Oprah, the beef thing?
Yes, they actually sued her.
They sued her, right?
And that's how she met Dr. Phil. He was her lawyer actually hired him as a jury consultant.
Oh.
That's where they met.
So I want you guys to think about this. Because of burgers, if you will, she got sued, met Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil then went on to go on her show, and then he gave us Cash Me Outside Girl.
He literally went from being a jury consultant to a regular guest on her show to having his own show.
Oh, my goodness me. Coffee, though. Back to it. Do you drink it? 4 cups? I don't remember that.
And one of the things we found out in the study was whether it was caffeinated or decaffeinated did not matter. It was the coffee itself that was matter. And we think that's the antioxidants in there. But the caffeine can help too. And the same thing with tea. Tea has those antioxidants. One thing about tea though that's interesting is they found out in a study that tea you can get half the caffeine in there, but it's not giving you the melatonin interference. And so during the day, we think that tea drinking is going to be okay during the day, whereas coffee, you want to make it in the morning.
Now, I'm a tea drinker. I don't drink coffee. I think I've had 0 cups of coffee in my life. But I drink iced tea. I drink way too much iced tea probably. Although I brew it myself, and it's not very strong, but I love my iced tea.
Just drink it plain or you sweeten it?
I sweeten it a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say, you probably get beat about the head and shoulders if you're not drinking sweet tea in Tennessee.
Yeah, so just a little bit. But I'm not, I don't overly do it. Because I also I'm not a big candy guy either. I don't overly do candy. I can have a piece of chocolate and then have to, But again, we're talking about coffee here. And I just keep going back to how many reports we heard in our life, whether it was eggs or the beef or the milk or the cheese. And now coffee, wine, remember, was alcohol last week causing cancer, right? So coffee used to be good, then it's bad, now it's good again.
Huge study, 40,000 people plus, over a 20-year period. They followed them for 10 years, and they found out again that all-cause mortality was decreased by 16%. Oh. The majority of that was because of cardiovascular mortality. That was decreased by 31%.
Is it gonna hurt you if you drink coffee in the afternoon?
It's not going to hurt you, but you got no benefit from it, according to this. This is the cardiovascular benefits we're talking about. And so, again, one of those things, should you drink coffee? Should you start drinking coffee? And it depends. If you have a family history of heart disease, you might want to think about it because you can get some benefits, obviously, in the morning on this study. But the studies do go back and forth, and we've known that for years. And so we'll see what happens when we stay tuned.
There's the headline right there. The studies go back and forth. So the headline is, coffee at this moment in time is okay for you, but at certain times and certain levels, and you can drink tea throughout the day. We move from there to sugary drinks, which is killing the world.
Researchers say we're seeing a global rise in diabetes and heart disease, and the cause is coming one sip at a time. Researchers at Tufts University in Massachusetts say sugary drinks are having damaging impacts on our bodies. The data points to sugary drinks being responsible for 2.2 million new diabetes cases and over 1 million heart disease diagnoses, with the most in poverty-stricken regions. The study reveals how quickly sugary drinks hit your system and spike your blood sugar levels, with regular consumption linked to weight gain and a higher risk of type 2 diabetes and heart disease.
Yeah, and the poor, it's important right there, the poor, because as we all know, it is way, 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 way easier and cheaper to eat poorly. Fresh food is expensive.
Especially meats.
Yes. Oh, God, yeah. I mean, meats are, I think it was for Thanksgiving, we went to the farmer's market, and it was like the best turkey ever, but it was so damn expensive. It wasn't one of those, butterball ones that are sitting there. Nothing wrong with that, but we got one of these ones where it's like, this thing was freshly killed for you, and you're like, it was super, no drugs, no hormones, none of that stuff, and it was amazing, but so damn expensive.
What did you pay a pound for it?
Like $12 a pound or something.
Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
That's not expensive, dude. That's outrageous.
Yeah, but my wife wanted something that was super organic, and it had no, it's. But,
happy wife, happy life.
Yeah. Well, until you're broke because of all the food. But the sugary drinks, of course, right? They're available. They're cheap, and it's easy. I mean, we talked about it about a month ago. Our poor people are fat because it's cheaper to get junk. Whether it's fast food, I mean, how many times you go somewhere and you're like, really? You guys take EBT?
The data covers nearly 3 million people, 87% of the global population, to help paint a clear picture. In 2020, researchers say sugary drinks accounted for 24% of all new diabetes diagnoses in the Caribbean and Latin America over the last 30 years. Numbers in Africa are also alarming. The sub-Saharan region has seen the highest increase of cases, with 21% of new diabetes cases and 11% of new heart disease cases. One of the authors of the study says drinks with high sugar content are typically sold and marketed in low and middle income communities where people are more vulnerable to disease, saying in a statement, not only are these communities consuming harmful products, but they are also often less well equipped to deal with the long-term health consequences.
Because health isn't it, surviving is it. Feeding your 4 or 5 kids and just getting through the day, and that's what it is. It's you've got 2 jobs, you got this, that, and the other. It's a cycle, and it's sad, but this is something that is going to continue to go on. And being healthy, it is a choice. And I know that I get yelled at because, and so does Belle. Like when we joke about, how people get fat, and people are always shocked. I don't know how I got this big. Really? You don't know? You don't think that...
Maybe that cake in your hand has something to do with it.
You don't think the 4 gallons of soda? Now, I gave up drinking. You said Diet Pepsi. I used to love Diet Coke.
I'm a Diet Pepsi guy. That's my one soda vice.
And 10 years ago, I said I was never going to drink a soda I was done with soda, and I have not had a drink. I went cold turkey on New Year's Day. I do drink tea, and that's it. I'll have a Sprite once in a while, but I'm talking about the dark soda. Just because I thought this isn't good. And you know what? I dropped some weight. I felt a lot better. But we make it hard to eat good.
Dude, you got to pay attention to the studies. Next week, those sodas are going to be good for you.
The minute I get a thing that says, hey, Chad, Coca-Cola is amazing for you. You're going to be thin. You're going to be happy.
All kind of antioxidants working for you.
Antioxidants. It's got enzymes, omega-3, 6-9. It's got all this stuff. We make it easy to be unhealthy. And the things we need are expensive. The things we want are cheap. And that's been that way for a really long time. And that includes food. And it's an addiction thing too. I think more and more people are starting to go, you know what? Maybe RFK Jr. has something here. Maybe he's got something here with his RFK Jr. This is my thing. Is that wrong?
Is that Betty Davis?
No. Remember, it's just his voice.
I can't tell the two of them apart.
No, it's a tough thing. You know who else has? He's got that disease. It's kind of like Parkinson's for your throat.
His vocal cords are like semi-frozen.
Yeah,
right?
and in fact, I think his brothers and sisters all have it too. I think it's like a genetic thing. And one other Congress senator has it.
His dad didn't have it though, did he?
No.
I remember him speaking very clearly.
No, he just had a Boston accent.
Okay.
Talked about Kaz and Yad. So, but like he's absolutely right about the red dyes, all the crap inside of foods. The more we look at it, last night it was because I'm easily prone to eating like junk. And last night my wife had these amazing chicken breasts and rice, and it was like, no sugar, none of that stuff. And it was delicious, but it was super expensive again.
The thing is he's not even in the job yet. He hasn't been, what's it called? Approved? Not approved. What is it when the Senate tells you? Confirmation. He hasn't been confirmed.
No.
And you don't need to ban this stuff.
No.
What you really need to do is stop subsidizing it.
There you go. And understand that the people that are selling you the test marketing is never about, is it healthy? It's all about what stuff can we get you addicted to? And then the packaging, they spend as much money figuring out what is going to catch your eye so you buy this. It is an addiction that they sold you. And that included the fact that most of these companies at one time or another were tobacco folks. And they said, we sell addiction.
Well, and let's not forget, Coca-Cola originally had cocaine in it.
Yeah. People were thinner, though, so there was that. But you know why? Because they ate healthier. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. We're going to wrap it up straight ahead. Young Mr. Man, every time I see him, he had a red jacket on. Now he changes. He's got quite a wardrobe, this Matt fellow.
Very fashion conscious.
He is very fashion conscious. He is straight ahead. It is the Chad Benson Show. Super Talk 99.7.
Nobody.
Vanilla Ice, I'm worried about. Matt Murphy
I
live.
got a great story about Vanilla Ice.
Do you?
I did not
Rob Van Winkle.
I did not experience it, but a good friend, my wife, experienced it. Where
she's a pretty good friend.
She went to Auburn with a group of friends before I knew her to watch Vanilla Ice. This is like 10 years after Ice Ice Baby. And he gets on stage and he says, "Hey, I'm going to play a couple of my new..." And everybody hated it. And they literally shouted him down to the point that he, apparently, I'm probably mangling the story, but he sang Ice Ice Baby 4 times in a row and then left. And apparently the crowd was appreciative. Thank you. Now let's play some music that we actually know.
You know what's funny? I interviewed what's his name? Love from Loverboy, the lead singer of Loverboy. Mike Reno. And he was on tour with Pat Benatar.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, I said, "How's the tour?" He goes, "We're having fun, man." He goes, "Let me tell you why. We go out and we play our hits. That's why these people came here."
That's right.
Pat and her husband are out there playing crap off a new album that nobody's ever going to buy.
And unfortunately, that's just the facts.
Working for the weekend.
Yeah.
You want to hear it again? We'll do it again.
Do it again. I'll play it all night long.
Raise your hands. You want to hear it again? We'll do it again.
Turn me loose one more time.
By the way, have y'all talked about the fact that you're producing for a pretty big deal?
No.
Have y'all talked about this?
No. Didn't they tell you I'm not your producer anymore?
He was awarded. Oh, that's good. He was awarded an industry accolade. He's like a top 20 national. He was he's a top 20 national talk show.
So are you.
Well, I understand that, but this is national. This isn't that little Nashville slop. This is all across the United States of America.
You got recognized nationally for a local show. That's a pretty big deal.
Well, thank you.
Right
well,
on.
Chad got recognized nationally for a national show. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much, man.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate that.
You're well deserved.
What are you going to do today? What are you talking about?
We're talking snow and ice. We will have a reset with Dan Thomas at 3:35. I know you talked to Dan.
I love Dan.
For
He's
those
tell you what the Doppler is.
And I'm a little disappointed you didn't ask him about the Doppels. What is a Doppel? Is the way that I would ask the question.
Oh, what is a Doppel?
If there is a Doppler,
it's a drop of
is that a Doppel?
dew that apparently they use it like a radar and it tells you which way the thing is moving.
So you're talking like a man who just talked to a meteorologist.
So actually, I talked to another one last night. I asked him too. I want to see if his story lined up with Dan's story, and they did.
Make sure these fake news weather guys got their stories.
We're making it up as we go.
We don't know. The thing goes around. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the disaster, the man-made and natural disaster that's happening out in California. Go over a timeline of Karen Bass.
Yeah.
The timeline of Karen Bass when she made these decisions, because the liberals are like, well, she didn't know this was going to get bad before she decided just to leave the country. Well, she should have. Because she was made aware of it. We'll discuss that. And then Cameron Sexton, the Speaker of the House of the state of Tennessee, is coming in at 4 o'clock, and he will answer any and all of your questions. So load them up on the super text line as we get this General Assembly underway.
That's right. It kicks off next week.
Should be a lot of fun.
It's going to be very interesting to see how this thing goes. The voucher thing, we're going to talk about that tomorrow because it's a big push. I was talking to Jack Johnson. It's a big push for vouchers, but it is... and watching, Governor Lee try to explain certain things, and then, you've got the union head going, our numbers crushed their numbers. And I'm like, you're not looking at it the way that you should look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're looking at it based on, their numbers are better, but they've taken kids who wanted to get out of bad situations, who were struggling, and improved their numbers.
Well, well, that's exactly right. But I would put it this way to the haters. If a parent wants to take their child out of a successful school and put them in a failing school, that should be their choice too.
Absolutely. Yeah, if they're like, I don't like
because
this kid.
They are the parent of the child. And anything that gives parents more control and the unions less control, I'm for.
Amen.
I'm for.
Said a guy who's got dogs.
Yeah. No kids.
He knows.
I don't want to pay. Where's my tax money?
There you go.
I want it.
That's what he's talking about. Tax money, fire, ice, hellfire and hell ice, all of it, snow apocalypse. You guys have a good one. We'll do it again tomorrow.